Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Kavita, Rani, Arora, and I'm so delighted to have you here for another beautiful session of Planifest 2019, where we're focused on designing your 2019 plan for a spiritual and pleasurable path to wealth and success. And I have here with me Zeffi Devi today, and she's someone I encountered recently, and we've just discovered in our chatting before the interview that we know all these amazing ladies in common, and she actually saw me speak, which I didn't even realize, and it was just this beautiful connection, and I just have been following my intuition on who to invite, and it was just like we'd known each other for years already, and it's beautiful, so I'm so delighted to share her with you. She's amongst the world's foremost natural empaths and is a highly gifted intuitive. And she's based in the ancient and mystical mountains of Sedona, Arizona for the past 25 years. And she's been working with men and women from all over the world. And she helps them to tap into their path of discovering, an awakening to your true self. And she has a lifetime study of the mystery schools, the true yogini path, tantric Buddhism, and Native American teachings. And to make things even more interesting, she was born and raised in Athens, Greece. So she's got that in her background, too, which is awesome. And, I just wanted to sit there and ask her questions about all of the relationships between these traditions she's a part of. So maybe we'll get into that in the interview a little bit at least. And she's got these beautiful empathic and intuitive skills and abilities that have been surprising adults around her when she was young. She followed the call of the spirit to India, and she cultivated these rare gifts on a spiritual path. And I was also just telling her I'm so envious that she got to do that, because I'm from India, but I've never gotten to do this kind of work in India. So it's so awesome that she did. And then later on, she became an experienced medical intuitive. So she has focused abilities on transforming lives that have been harmed by illness. And she works as a spiritual counselor to clients in Europe, Asia, and North America. And she spends half the year in Greece and half the year in Sedona. Oh my gosh, how amazing is that? And in Sedona, she hosts Women Arising, which is an annual festival that she's been running since 2012. And that's actually how I found her, is another speaker on this series, Prasanna, who is a friend of mine, was speaking at Zeffi's event. I'm like, oh, this looks like a really amazing lady who I must get to know. And so she hosts this event for women who are ready to dive deep into the divine feminine. And it's an opportunity to connect with profound, radiant, successful, and aware women. And Zeffi, I'm just so delighted to welcome you and to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be part of this incredible Planifest 2019. And you're such an amazing person, Kavita. You're a great speaker, and I love what you're putting together for helping women all over the world. And I'm just delighted. I don't know what to say. I'm very excited and delighted to be part of this today.
Yay! We're both so excited. That's awesome.
And I feel a little bit blushed of all these beautiful things that you said about me. I'm blushing.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad. I could feel you over there, and I meant every word, and it was so fun to interact with your energy in those moments. So it's so great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I love how it's like you knew your intuitive abilities when you were young, and you followed your calling when you were young. Now, how did you know to do that, and how did it sort of become okay with the adults around you, or how did you have the courage to do it, or how did all that work? Tell us about that.
Well, I come from a family of intuitives. My grandmother was really a great healer. My family comes from part of Turkey that it used to be Greece. It's called Izmir. And the women there, they were really, really powerful intuits. And they used to get together every Friday, and they would share gifts like tarot cards, coffee reading, things like that. And when I was 9 years old, this thing just came to me, and I started doing those things naturally with not even study them. And my mother's friends used to come, and I would do a reading for them or whatever, and things would come true. I had no idea what I was saying. I was 9, correct? But then I got married and to a beautiful military man, a pilot in the Navy. But then I decided to get a divorce because I think something was telling me that I needed to wake up who I really was. And then I was 27 years old when that happened, and I left and went to India. So since then, my life has been living it through my intuition and really letting go even things like, a great marriage, that it was, I had everything that I needed, and a great husband, but I needed to really find myself and, continue following my intuition. My mother felt when I was 27 that I was like this person of being like, how can I leave this great marriage, and how can I leave this path? And she thought I was a witch, and, all this stuff. Even the intuitive party was in our family. It's very funny, So one day, after 10 years that I hadn't talked to my mother, I'd done a lot of inner work with myself, and I think I was like 35 or 36. I flew back to Greece for a wedding, and my family saw me, and they thought that I was like this, I was going to be this strange person, and they saw this normal person that really was, connected to herself and loved the family, and had missed them, of course, because, we come of very close-knit families, like in India, the families all together all the time. And then I was going up the elevator with my mother and holding bags of food. And she says to me, you know what, your grandmother it was exactly like you. And I said, now you tell me, after 10 years of not talking to me, after 10 years of pushing me away, that I chose the path. And she goes, well, your grandmother didn't. Your grandmother kept it a secret, and my mother is very intuitive too. So her dreams always come true. If she has a dream, her dreams will come true. So she said, how we judged it because we were Christians and all that. And I said, Mom, thank you for telling me now, but I had to do a lot of work to come to that conclusion, even accepting you, even understanding you, where you were coming from. And now, guess what? My mother is 85 years old, and she meditates with us. She's been attuned to my Tibetan teachers.
Wow.
I hold groups in Greece every Sunday, and she meditates with us. Even now, even when I'm in Europe, in America, we do it through Zoom or Skype, and she really has changed, So I know that we can really, if we believe in ourselves, we can even change our families around us. So that's my story, if that makes sense, in like a short time, because I can go on and on.
Oh, my goodness. I love how much you shared in such a short period of time. That was so dense and so rich. And wow. And so let me go back through this journey, and because I've got a bunch of different questions and things to, like, it takes so much courage to, and I don't even know, like, most people, if they're married, if they're in a beautiful marriage and it's working and then having, like, how did you decide to leave and follow that voice that said, hey, yes, this is great, but I need to leave and I need to follow this calling and go to India. So I'd love to hear about that part, because and at that point, here you're not just leaving the marriage, you're being disowned, basically, because your mom is thinking, oh, my daughter has gone crazy. Who leaves a great marriage? And, like, what is going on? And so tell us about that part.
Well, my husband was an amazing man, and it wasn't that I really wasn't happy in it. Even if he gave me all the material things and all the stuff, I didn't feel that that was my path, to be married and have children and all that, which we didn't have children together anyway because he didn't want it. But but after 10 years, I was like, there's something's missing. There's something's missing from inside of me. And that's how I left it. It took a lot. It took courage. But, you know, when you're in this path of intuition, not intuitive, following your intuition and your total trust, I really, back then, I had no idea, you know, because when I did this, it was in 87, okay? And doing something like this in 87 with no books, with no as much help as we have now, you know, that was crazy. That was really crazy to do.
Yeah.
But something inside of me said that I needed to learn more. I needed to experience more, and I needed to wake up something. It was something that was screaming inside that this wasn't my path, the marriage and the husband and all that. You know, maybe now, but back then it was like, you know, he was a great person to bring me from Greece to America, and that wasn't even planned. It just happened. And it was just for me to open up to the path. And he was part of he was a step. He was a step in my process. He was a step in my growth. And I appreciate him and love him a lot still to this day, even if he's remarried and, you know, we don't talk because I really hurt him by leaving. But I just had to follow me, you know, follow my intuitive self. And I do that all the time. And it's really, up to this day, it's really scary to do that. But I still do it. I hope that answered. I don't know.
No, it does. I love it. It takes so much courage to do that, and I love what a way shower you are, and how, you know, you did this before it was. I mean, now it's a lot easier to do, and there are so many resources, and there are so many women who are doing it, so many men too. You know, just we're all waking up and doing this kind of thing. But when you did it, nobody was doing it, or very few, or if they were doing it, you didn't hear about them. You didn't know about them. You didn't have that support. So I just so honor and admire your courage in following your intuition and living from there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, even just, you know, I mean, it must have been so painful with your mother and all, and, you know, just, and it's so beautiful to hear how then eventually you found out, oh, your grandma was just like that, but then she didn't follow, you know, and then you start receiving some healing from these things that you hear. And now that your mother is meditating with you and understanding the path and, like, doing this work with you, I mean, it's just so beautiful the way that the healing has occurred. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, for us to need to understand, if we take our lives, the calling in our lives, everything around us gets healed. And it gets healed in such a beautiful way. And we do learn the truth, even if we go through a little bit of a suffering, you know. And to me, not everything is like given to us in a silver platter, correct? We have to really work through it. We have to really unleash a part of ourselves that is so hidden so deep inside, and wake it up and just, you know, flourish from that. So that's me. That's what I do in my life for me and others.
Beautiful. Yeah. So what I'm feeling called to ask you, because you did such a great job of this inside of yourself, and you don't seem to have had some of the difficulties that some people have of, like, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You just went all in at 27 and said, here I am, I surrender, I trust, and, you know, and take me where you will. You, like, surrendered yourself to creation, to life itself, and said, I am here. And a lot of people have difficulty with that, right? And I'm guessing that some of the clients that you work with, if not all of them, struggle with this place. And what kind of advice would you offer, or guidance to our listeners who might not have the courage that you had to just say, okay, here I am, I surrender, I trust. You know, right? Like, what might you offer? What do you offer to your own clients?
What I will say is, and I do say, take a step at a time. Discover what you really want, and open up yourself and listen to yourself one step at a time. Not everybody can jump in like I do, you know. And I say that but I still, even when I jumped in, I still had to really understand it and learn it. Because when I went to India, my teacher, it wasn't a famous guru like we have now in the ashrams and things like that. He was a guru that didn't even speak English. And I got initiated to the goddess. And I mean, I just followed my heart. I didn't listen with my ears. I listened with my heart. And it wasn't about him explaining it correctly to me. It was about him, because he didn't speak English and I didn't speak Hindi. It was about me feeling. So if we can just like surrender and trust ourselves and trust what we listen inside of ourselves, and even, write it down maybe if we don't trust it. Because if we do that every day and we write down something, it will be exactly the same thing 10 days later, in different words, but it would be exactly the same the same feelings that we had. So it's about us, I think, surrendering and listening slowly and taking our time and not to judge ourselves and not to beat ourselves up.
Yeah. Oh, that's just such great advice. I love that you said that, when you write it down, then 10 days later, if you write something else down, you might think it's something else, but then if you go back and you compare it, it's actually the same thing said differently. I have experienced this so many times because I keep thinking, oh, I'm so different than I was 10 years ago. And then I find something I wrote 10 years ago when I was dropped in. I'm like, how did I know this 10 years ago? But I hadn't embodied it, but I knew it. And it's so true what you're saying. I'm like, here I am. I think I'm so much wiser now and so much more. But no, I knew these things then, too, and I just wasn't ready to listen yet. And so it's like really this trusting and listening inside yourself is so important. So it's so funny and so profound what you said.
And it's very simple, correct? It's so simple.
Yeah.
It's like just test yourself, write it down, and write down, even when I look at myself 10 years ago or 15 years ago, it's like the wisdom is inside of us. It's just wakes up now, when we're ready to see it, when we're ready to feel it, when we're ready to be conscious of it. I think that's the better word, be conscious of it,
Yep. Yeah, that's beautiful. So this is just something I'm curious about. So I want to know, how did you decide to go to India? What was it? Because it sounds like you didn't have a guru in mind. You just, it's not like there was someone famous and you're reading the books and you're like, I need to go meet this person. So tell us about that portion. Now you're leaving the marriage and your mom is angry with you and, maybe other people are angry with you and think you're going nuts. And then, how does this, because often this is what happens when we follow the path of intuition, people think we're going nuts because it doesn't make sense at all to the rational mind. So, what was it that arose within you that said go to India, and how did you choose what part to go to? India's a big country.
Well, you're right. At the time, though, I lived in New York, and I met this friend of mine. He was from Germany, married to a Greek lady, and he said, I have a guru, and, would you like to meet him? And I said, yeah, I would love to meet him. And I met him in New York. Again, no one famous, no one that anybody knows, the famous ones, even back then, because back then we had Yogananda and Muktananda and things like that. And so the guru, we sat, I did some, connection with him. He gave me my initiation to the goddess. And he said, I'm leaving for India, and do you want to come with? And I said, let's see. Back then, I didn't have that much money because going through the divorce and living in New York and all that, and I had lost a lot of money in the stock market. And I had $300, and I said, would that help with the ticket? And he's like, the guru said, yes, of course. My friend wasn't coming. And so I went with $300, 2 saris, flip-flops, and which I bought there, of course, the saris and the flip-flops. And I spent 3 months with him, following him around and going to places like Varanasi. And so it's not like I went to India by myself. He was there, he
got it.
stepped
okay,
in.
beautiful.
He stepped in.
Yeah.
So it was a really a great connection. And then I came back, and then started studying a little bit of Yogananda and Muktananda and all that, I found the guru after that because she was in India, so I needed to connect. But I always go to India totally guided I have even a recent story if you want me to tell you, that happened to me 5 years ago about India, that I just went there with knowing nothing about. I just knew where the temple was. And then the door, the road opened up, and the goddess just gave it to me all right there. It's like, okay, this is the person you need to meet. This is where you need to go. And it was just absolutely incredible. So I think our intuition is like, I don't know how to say it. Our intuition knows, even if we get all these doubts around us, and if people say, your intuition is too much, sometimes there's no room for us to come in, or whatever they might think about your intuition, but your intuition is correct. And yes, you might lose friends, you might lose people, you might lose family, you might lose husbands, whatever, but you find in you. And then they come back. Definitely they come back. That's been my experience.
Yep. Yeah, that resonates with me so deeply. That's beautiful. And and the people who are meant to come back will come back. And
exactly.
Yeah. And the other ones, they're better off on whatever path they're on without you because you weren't resonant, your energies. And they were meant
that was
to go
a
on
karmic
a different path. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the karmic thing. You knew them for that time of year. You put a seed in them with your intuition, even if they didn't like it. But down the line, they're going to figure out, oh my God, that person was correct. So it takes time, and it does take courage, but it also takes trust in you and trust in the divine.
Yeah.
So
beautiful. So one of the things that I love about you is that you are able to trust your intuition, you trust in the divine, and at the same time, you're able to create in this world. You're not just off in the ethers, like, off in some other dimension. Like some people get to that place and following their intuition, and then it becomes hard for them to function in everyday reality. And you are really great at receiving the intuition and these messages, but also creating on this plane. Like, for instance, you create this amazing event, Women Are Rising, right? And you create this festival, right? Woman Are Rising, sorry. I just looked up the name, and I'm like, oh, I said that wrong. So, you can create on this plane. And this is something that a lot of people have difficulty doing. It's like, how do you marry the intuitive side with the practical side and make things happen? And I was wondering if you could share any ideas or tips or tools or strategies that our listeners can use to help them both follow their intuition and either, I don't know if you must do some kind of planning. An event like that requires planning. So how do you marry the two?
Well, first, when I had the opportunity to get Women Are Rising, it was a great gift. I was like, oh my God, this is a great gift. I really want to do something with it. I really want to take it to the next level. So I really never did a planning like this, festivals like that, because I'm a reader, a healer and a conscious reader, which means I bring the energy in and ground it here on the earth. But how do you make that to manifest in the real world, correct? You can do it in sessions, but how you do it is in a big event like that, because that takes at least a year planning every time, even if we think it's the last 6 months, but it's a year planning from the time you begin it to you end it, and then the cycle starts. But in that, for me, was really keeping myself grounded and knowing exactly how I want this event to, what I want this event to bring. The focus of this event for me is to bring women into, and men, we're going to start with men also a couple of years from next year. I think we're planning to do a men's event, but it's to bring that into the earth. What do we want to really, really bring from the divine here, instead of being just in our higher chakras, as we call it? How do we ground this in that we want, whatever that is? How can we walk it? How can we actually live it, be with it? And to me, that's it. It's feeling it all in the physical plane. It's not just dreaming it, because intuition is very dreamlike for a lot of people, and a lot of people get lost in it. But how you ground that dream, how you actually walk that dream. But first of all, the first important thing is to walk your truth. If you can walk your truth, then you can walk on this physical plane connected to your intuition.
I love that. Can you share a little more about that?
Okay. Well, so there is, so you say something, okay, that you said, oh, I have this thing to do. I really want to make this thing of my life, like I have I don't know how to say, a business plan. So now, how can I walk this business plan? Can I be that business plan? Correct? Can I be that woman arising? What do I see inside of me? Not what I have to share, but what do I see inside of me that connects to the women across the room, or the women that are going to come into this event? So then I become that. That is grounding it for me. I become that woman that sits in front of me and says, I need help, or I need to, to make my marriage better. So I walk that path. I become that. I walk it, and then I present it. So that's really grounding the energy. It's not just in my dream state, in my intuitive state.
I just love this so much. This is like, I'm so glad I asked the question, because I had my impression of what you meant. Mm-hmm. And but then what you've added is so rich. Like, even just like you said, how can I walk this business plan? I'm like, mm-hmm. I never thought of it quite that way. And it's like you're embodied. You are like, you are so in touch with your soul, your true self, and then it's flowing into action. So it's like, exactly. It's not just staying in that dreamlike state, but you're grounding that dream by being so embodied as who you really are that it turns into action. So then you became the woman arising. And I love that you said when you become the woman that's sitting in front of you that needs help, and then you just know how to interact and what to say, and then it doesn't become about sales and marketing and this and that. It becomes about you are your message, you are embodying it, and you're taking action on what comes through as you embody it, and you share that. So it's like you're walking the path, but it's so much richer than just walking the path. You hear a lot of people saying walking the path and walk your truth, but the way you described it is just so rich and delicious and amazing. And I mean, I'm going to ask myself this now. How can I walk this business plan?
Yes.
That's so awesome. What a great question.
Years ago, I'm going to add this, I was working as a concierge at a major resort in Sedona before I became started working my work and doing my work. And I remember being a concierge, you have to help people and to plan everything for them. So what I did was, I didn't know the job very well because I never did it. But I used to put myself into that guest situation. How would they would like to be treated when they got on this trip, or they planned this, or, they wanted this for their wives or whatever? How can I be that? How can I please me, of what that person wanted? It makes sense? It was like me.
Yeah.
So I give to that person what I would love to have in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, that's really gorgeous. It's like taking it's like embodied empathy and taking it to a whole new level, and then becoming that which they're looking for in that moment, and then just your presence and your interaction becomes so healing. And it's just then if they're a great fit for whatever it is that you're offering, then they just they're going to connect, they're going to show up, they're going to want to participate. And that's just really beautiful, Zeffi. Thank you so much for sharing this wisdom. And
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have received it. And I know that our listeners are going to, start tuning in, are going to want to interact with you more and to get to know you. So if they're feeling that, I think you have a special meditation that you wanted to share, and we're going to have a link to it right below if you're interested in signing up for this. So Zeffi, tell us about this. I think you have a womb meditation that you wanted to share.
Exactly. It's a meditation that I did a couple years ago at Women Arising, and it's connecting to your womb, because your womb, it's kind of like we have the lower chakras. I don't know if you know a little bit about chakras. Of course you do. But the lower chakras it's the earthly chakras, correct? It's the chakras that we bring that in. So we need to walk our path, or walk in our business plan, but first we need to feel it in our womb. And actually, it's kind of like giving birth to something. So we bring it into our womb, it creates to be a baby, and then we give birth to it. And that's how we ground the energy. Really important is to ground the energy through our lower chakras that we said earlier. It's like not just dreaming it in our higher self and in our intuition, but also to walk it through grounding it through the womb. So I would love for our listeners to have that, and they can sign up and they will receive that, and they can download it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful meditation. Women had amazing experience through it. I still get from women from 2 years ago from Women Arising saying, "Oh, that meditation, it was the best, and we're still using it." So I really want to offer that. Yes.
Yeah. It sounds so amazing. I want to download it. So I'm going to check it out, because I've actually been working with the lower chakras a lot. I've been teaching them in a program that I'm offering, and so I'm like, okay, I want to deepen and into this, and with this, because you mentioned that it supports us with healing in the lower chakras. So
absolutely
amazing. Thank you for sharing your wisdom today, and really, how to walk your truth and grounding it on the physical plane, and the richness of that, and sharing the richness of your story and this meditation. It's been just such a joy and a pleasure to be with you today, Zeffi.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me be part of it. I love it.
Awesome. Yay. All right. I hope you all have enjoyed it as much as we did. And bye-bye for now.